There's an exodus in Homer's Iliad. Homer's Iliad shows a Lycurgus do a Moses-like exodus, but and if thou art one of the immortals come down from heaven, then will I not fight with the heavenly gods. 130 Nay, for even the son of Dryas, mighty Lycurgus, lived not long, seeing that he strove with heavenly gods, he that on a time drave down over the sacred mount of Nysa the nursing mothers of mad Dionysus, and they all let fall to the ground their wands, smitten with an ox goad by man-slaying Lycurgus. 135 But Dionysus fled, and plunged beneath the wave of the sea, and Thetis received him in her bosom, filled with dread, for mighty terror gat hold of him at the man's threatenings. Then against Lycurgus did the gods that live at ease wax wroth, and the son of Cronos made him blind. 140 And he lived not for long, seeing that he was hated of all the immortal gods. Homer Iliad, 6-129-143 We've already seen that the Moses childhood story is analogous to Sargon of Akkad. We can further show that Moses is one of many lawgivers. We must speak also of the lawgivers who have arisen in Egypt and who instituted customs unusual and strange. After the establishment of settled life in Egypt in early times, which took place, according to the mythical account, in the period of the gods and heroes, the first, they say, to persuade the multitudes to use written laws was Neves. 43 A man not only great of soul but also in his life the most public-spirited of all lawgivers whose names are recorded. According to the tradition he claimed that Hermes had given the laws to him, with the assurance that they would be the cause of great blessings, just as among the Greeks, they say, Minos did in Crete and Lycurgus among the Lacedaemonians, the former saying that he received his laws from Zeus and the latter his from Apollo. 2 Also among several other people's tradition says that this kind of a device was used and was the cause of much good to such as p. 321 believed it. Thus it is recorded that among the Aryans Zathrustes 44 claimed that the good spirit gave him his laws, among the people known as the Getae who represent themselves to be immortals Zalmoxis 45 asserted the same of their common goddess Hestia, and among the Jews Moises referred his laws to the god who is invoked as Yao.46 They all did this either because they believed that a conception which would help humanity was marvelous and wholly divine, or because they held that the common crowd would be more likely to obey the laws if their gaze were directed towards the majesty and power of those to whom their laws were ascribed. Diodorus Siculus, Antiquities of Egypt, 1-94 For this is natural, and it is common to the Greeks and to the barbarians, for, being members of states, they live under common mandates, for otherwise it would be impossible for the mass of people in any country to do one and the same thing in harmony with one another, which is precisely what life in a free state means, or in any other way to live a common life. And the mandates are twofold, for they come either from gods or from men. 762 And the ancients, at least, held those from the gods in greater honor and veneration, and on this account men who consulted oracles were much in evidence at that time, men who ran to Dodona, to hear the will of Zeus from the high tressed oak, 101 thus using Zeus as their counselor, and also to Delphi, seeking to learn whether the child which had been exposed to die was no longer alive, 102 But the child himself, was on his way to the home of Phoebus, wishing to discover his parents. 103 And among the Cretans Minos reigned as king, who held converse with great Zeus every 9th year, 104 Every 9 years, as Plato says, when he would go up to the cave of Zeus and receive decrees from him and carry them to the people. And Lycurgus, 105 his emulator, did likewise, for oftentimes, as it appears, he would go abroad to inquire of the Pythian priestess what ordinances it was proper for him to report to the Lacedaemonians. p. 289-39 For these things, whatever truth there may be in them, have at least been believed and sanctioned among men, and for this reason the prophets too were held in so much honor that they were deemed worthy to be kings, on the ground that they promulgated to us ordinances and amendments from the gods, not only when they were alive, but also when they were dead, as, for example, Tiresias, to whom even in death Persephone granted reason, that he alone should have understanding, whereas the others flit about as shadows. 106 Such, also, were Amphiaraus, Trophonius, Orpheus, Musaeus, and the god among the Getae, who in ancient times was Zalmoxis, 107 a Pythagorean, and in my time was Decanius, 108 the diviner of Byrabistas, and, among the Bosporini, a Cacarus, and, among the Indians, the Gymnosophists, and, among the Persians, the Magi and the Necromancers, as also the dish diviners and water diviners, as they are called, and, among the Assyrians, the Chaldeans, and, among the Romans, the Tyrrhenian nativity nativity casters. 109 Moses was such a person as these, as also his successors, who, with no bad beginning, turned out for the worse. Strabo, Geography 1638-40. This Strabo cult not only equates Moses with prior lawgivers, but mentions a 9 years period for kings. Here we see that Moses, like other lawgivers, are divine. They want the law to be from something divine to give it authority. And, they want these divine laws to keep people in line. The idea of hell is one form of this as shown here. Diodorus of Sicily, 30 BC, says in Book 1.2.2. For if it be true that the myths which are related about Hades, in spite of the fact that their subject matter is fictitious, contribute greatly to fostering piety and justice among men, it is impossible to govern a mob of women, or the whole mixed multitude, by philosophical reason and to exhort them to piety, holiness, and faith. We must also employ superstition with its fables and prodigies. For the thunder, the abyss, the trident, the torches, the serpents, the thyrsi of the gods, are fables, as is all ancient theology, but the legislature introduces these things as bugbears to those who are children in understanding. Strabo, kind of like the Diodorus of Sicily quote about using hell to keep people in line.